moment. Exactly. And we will share this recording as well as all slides in a follow-up email afterwards. So this will go out tomorrow, maybe on 1 or 2 days. So you will receive all information in the slides, in the presentations that will be shared here during the next 1.5 hours, and you will also receive the recording. There will be a Q&A session in the end, so you will have the possibility to ask questions to us. However, if you have a question during the presentations, because we will bombard you with some more information today, so if you would have a question, you are very welcome to put this question in the chat. Emily, my colleague, she will monitor the chat, she will collect those questions, and then we will get back to those questions in the end of the session. So this is all about the housekeeping. Let's see what awaits us in the next 1.5 hours. We will have a focus on the CERV program. That is the Citizens Equality, Rights and Values program, because this program by the EU, this EU funding program, it provides funding opportunities for active citizenship, rights and equality. And we will first look at this program. We will try to understand it, give you a brief overview. Then we will look at some current funding opportunities, some open calls, deadlines that are there at the moment. There are a few. And then Philip Ternes from the contact point of Citizens Equality, Rights and Values program in Luxembourg, he will present on the CERV Citizens Forum. And as I mentioned before, this is a support platform for applicants with amazing support structures for people, for you, if you're interested in applying for this program. Then we have 2 case studies today, one by Sinead from Oxfam Ireland and one from Marty from Twilight International Cultural House. And they successfully applied and delivered a CERV project. So they are able and would like to share with you all their experiences, learnings, best practices by applying, delivering, running a CERV project. And then, as I announced before, there will be a Q&A session in the very end. And we wrap up with some more information from our side, from Access Europe, and what kind of supports we are able actually to help you with, to support you with. So this is the agenda, should be 1.5 hours maximum. But before I start with digging a little bit deeper into the mentioned CERV program, I will quickly stop the screen sharing and ask you 2 questions in a Zoom poll. So let me do this here. You should see it now. There are 2 questions that you're welcome to answer. So first of all, we would like to know, have you been involved in an EU-funded project before? This is always interesting for us to see, like, what is the level actually with EU funding itself, like overall in the room. And then, have you been involved in a CERV project before? So this program we will be talking about today, and also this is of course interesting to see what is kind of the knowledge level actually by the people here in the room. So are there maybe also some experts who can help out each other? Great. So I see that you are still giving votes, so I will give you 1 more second to do that and stop it now and share the results. So that is pretty equal. So half of you have been involved in a EU-funded project before, half not. That's great. So we have some people with experience here, maybe in other programs, in other EU funding programs like Erasmus, you have been involved before. And then CERV program, so that's why actually we're running the session, because like the majority actually has not been involved in a CERV project. And this is exactly why we saw that there's like a gap, and that's why it's needed to have this session and to run a session like this with you guys. So great. This proves actually the importance of this today. And I really, really hope that this will be useful for you. So I will go back to my presentation that you should see again. And for the next 10 minutes, just give you an overview of the CERV program. We will not go into detail, but it will give you a brief overview. It will just share. I will just share some like the priorities and who can apply, who's eligible, all of this, so you can see, okay, is this a right fit for my organization? And we will also share lots of supports and resources where you can find more information on that. But this gives you an overview of what to do if you really would like to go for this program. Just some expectation management here from the start. We at the wheel with Access Europe here in Ireland, we are not the official contact point for CERV. So there is no official contact point. It is not yet appointed in Ireland. Thus, this means we are no experts on the program, right? What I just mentioned and what we also saw in the poll is that there is actually a gap in information on this program. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to close this gap by running sessions like this. But this is not official information. This is just the information that we would like to give you so that you have the possibility to also be informed and to get engaged into this program. Just saying this, that this is not we're not like an official contact point. I think this is important for you to know, but still, like, you're very welcome to reach out in case you would like to apply for this program. So we're still able to help you and support you in this endeavor. Now, on the CERV program itself, CERV stands for, this acronym, this beautiful one, stands for Citizens, Equality, Rights and Values Program. And it's the EU's funding program for citizens' engagement and the implementation of EU rights and values. It is actually the largest ever EU funding program for promoting and safeguarding rights and values in the EU. And you see it here, the total budget is 1.55 billion on this time frame of 2021 to 2027. We're kind of nearing us to the end of the cycle. However, there are funding opportunities like open calls and deadlines, usually once a year. And we have deadlines coming up in March and April, but there will also be more calls be opened with other funding deadlines. We will hear more about that later. CERV in general aims to build inclusive and democratic societies by fostering equality, participation, and adherence to EU values. And it provides, as I said, funding opportunities to support exactly those initiatives who have these goals. And let's look at those key priorities of the CERV program, because there are 4. And if you're here, and I will dig like a little bit deeper now in those broad terms that we have here. And if you hear something that aligns actually with the organization's purpose and you would like to start an initiative or project, then this might be the right program for you. So I will just let you know what is meant by the single headlines that we have here. Promoting equality, rights, and gender equality. This is all about combating discrimination. This is supporting initiatives that promote diversity, inclusion, especially for underrepresented, marginalized groups. The second point, supporting citizens' engagement participation. This is all about encouraging EU citizens to engage actively in democratic processes. This is about strengthening the understanding of EU history, culture, institutes. This is all about fostering debate and dialogue. So all initiatives around this. Then we have preventing violence and combating discrimination. This is addressing gender-based violence, for example, domestic violence, harassment. This is supporting efforts to combat hate speech, hate crimes, online abuse. But there's also setting up support mechanisms, for example, for victims of violence and discrimination. And the fourth point is about protecting and promoting EU values. So this is all about upholding the principles of democracy, like rule of law, human rights. This is also safeguarding democratic values, for example, but this is also countering threats to pluralism and freedom of expression, so within the EU, of course. So these are the specific objectives. And as I said, initiatives who fall under those can be supported so that you could apply with a project. If you heard now something, okay, this aligns really with what I would like to do, then this could be the right program for you. And under like these key priorities also actually correspond to the funding strands. And my colleague Emily in a second, she will talk about the open calls and then also those activities in more detail that can be funded under those 4 strands. But first, let's look at who actually can apply. That you see here, a list are the usual suspects, civil society organizations, local regional authorities, public bodies, but also you see it here, academic institutions, European networks, schools even. So this is a focus on civil society organizations. And actually this program was designed to support a range of organizations and also a range of organizations with different levels of experience. So what they tried here to do with the CERV program is also to simplify the application procedure. It offers smaller grants and funding for small scale, even local projects. I come to that point later. But the endeavor, at least, is to make this program accessible for newer, for smaller organizations. So that could be a good starting point. I mentioned it. It is a new funding program. So, of course, cross-border collaboration is encouraged. And yes, you need a partner from a different country in most cases. So there's usually a consortium of at least 2 applicants from 2 different eligible countries. It really depends on the call. So sometimes more partners are needed in a consortium, sometimes less not, but yeah. So it definitely is. In most cases, it is cross-border. Just to let you know who you would be able to participate with. So you will need an organization from a different EU country. All European member states are participating in the program. You see them here, all 27. And then you also have the third country participation. So this is Albania, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Kosovo, Serbia, Ukraine. They can also participate in all strands except the union value strand. And you see there are some ongoing negotiations with other countries. And who will not participate in the program is Iceland, Norway, Liechtenstein. So you can't cooperate, you can't build a consortium with those 3 countries. But you see it here. I'm also linking here a list of participating countries. It's from 1st July 2024. These details are always subject to change, of course. So, but just to give you an overview, who could be like a potential partner, or at least from which country could you partner with. Here I'm sharing, and you will receive all slides and the presentation afterwards. I'm sharing 2 links just to for you to read on past funded projects. So you can read stories of project beneficiaries, of CERV funded projects. You could see what kind of initiatives were funded before, what kind of topics were covered, who was involved. So just to get maybe inspired for your own project, but also I always recommend to do that, to read about those success stories, about funded projects, just because it's an excellent resource to find partners, because maybe you see, okay, this organization already has worked on a project tackling online hate speech, and I would like to do something similar. So I will reach out to this organization just saying, look, would you like to join my consortium here? So it's a good resource to actually also find maybe future partner organizations by reading those success stories. This slide is just for you to give you a very useful compilation of links and websites that I use myself to keep myself updated about the CERV program. And I really would encourage you to do that, because it gives you just like updated information in a very quick way. Here are like some official websites, like the one from the EU Commission, for example. There's, of course, also the EU Funding and Tenders portal, which is like your go-to place if you look up the calls, right? But there's also one interesting document, which is an indicative overview of the 2025 calls for proposals. This is an excellent PDF because it provides you in a comprehensive overview which calls are published, when, and when is the deadline, so you actually can plan your year a little bit better. Then I would always recommend to read the annual work program. This should be your Bible when going for this program. And there's also now, for the new calls, the Commission, I think, published the CERV Communication Campaign website, which is a nicely designed website where you find more information about the program and more in a nice, visually appealing way. I always recommend also to follow social media. So the CERV program has a Facebook page, it has an Instagram page. You get like the newest updates you just receive there. Very highly recommendable is the DG Justice newsletter. So this is a newsletter by the Directorate directly from the Commission. They are the ones managing the CERV program, but also the Justice program, if you're interested in this EU funding program. And this newsletter is like delivering information right into your inbox. So it really gives you an overview of the newest calls and updates, etc. There's an interesting YouTube playlist also run, I think, by the Commission, which compiles about 11 videos for the CERV program. Also, for example, one application step-by-step video. Again, this is just like very helpful resources to get you started and to get involved into this. And what I'm also sharing here is this EU funding online manual, which is actually a pretty new thing, I think, that they implemented on the funding and tenders portal. This is not only for the CERV program, but this is an excellent place if you would like to start out with EU funding. It's not that visual appealing, but it's a great resource because it really lists in detail what you have to do if you really would like to go for a call, if you would like to apply. So it has really all the details in it. So it's a lot, but still it's structured and it really gives you a good starting point. Also, if you would like to go for a call and if you would like to apply and you think like, okay, like I don't understand the funding and tenders portal, it's really, really good place to start. Then last but not least, I'm just listing here a few events that might be of interest to you. Those are official events run by the Commission, by the EACEA. So what they are doing is that they actually dig deeper into the single calls. These are only 3 events. You see it here. So there's some, for example, the call to foster citizens' engagement participation. They run those sessions throughout February. I'm sure there will be more. Because there will also be more calls published. So I would recommend to keep an eye on this. These are then official sessions, let's say. I'm also pretty sure that they will run some partnership brokerage sessions, but maybe Philip knows also more about that part. And just to mention that, because so you're not irritated, we ourselves will also run a partner matchmaking session on 5th of February. However, this one is already closed for Irish participants because we have at the moment 120 registrations and we had to close it. If this is like something that is successful, we are considering running another round like this, like a partnership building. But for now, I will not share this link because anyways, we closed it for Irish participants at least. So it's fully booked. Sorry about that. But I'm pretty sure that some of you already signed up for that one as well. And of course, always watch out our website and our newsletter. So our website is accesseurope.ie. We are compiling there all information about EU funding programs, about EU funding calls, but I will tell you later more about that. And now it's my colleague, Emily, who will tell you more about the current funding opportunities and single open calls and what are the funded activities, the deadlines, and so forth.
Super. Thank you, Christina. I'm just getting situated here.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, we're going to start by looking at the 3 calls that are currently open for applications. And I'm just going to give brief overviews of those. In each of the call names, you'll see I've hyperlinked where you can find more detailed information on the call and the application link on our Access Europe website. So the first one that we're going to look at is rights of the child and children's participation. So that aims to support exactly what it sounds like. So supporting, advancing, and implementing comprehensive policies to protect and promote the rights of the child, including the right to participate. So this call is going to support the following 3 priorities. So children's rights in the digital age, embedding rights of the child perspective in actions at national and local level, and children's engagement and participation. So under each of those 3 priorities, the kinds of activities that would be supported in a project are things like mutual learning and exchange of good practices with your partners, dissemination and awareness raising, and that can include things like social media campaigns or press campaigns. You could also do things like capacity building and training workshops for national, regional, and local authorities. And then, of course, training activities and awareness raising sessions for children. So an important thing to note about the activities for this specific call is that all activities should be designed, implemented, and co-created with children. So obviously this ensures that the actions of the project are tailored to children's needs. And children also, as a best practice, should be consulted in the design of your proposal and your application. So just something to be aware of if you're considering going for this call. So for this call, partners required, the application must involve at least 2 applicants. So this project can be either national or transnational. We would always sort of advise going for the transnational approach because it really shows that there's added value to your project. But of course, that's up to you. The budget for this call, so the EU grant applied for cannot be lower than €200,000. And the deadline for this specific call is the 29th of April. So again, if you're interested in learning more, you can click on the link here. That will bring you to the Access Europe webpage with the more details on the call and the application link. Okay, so next up, we have citizens' engagement and participation. So the aim of this is promoting citizens and representative associations, basically civil society organizations, participation in and contribution to democratic and civic life, giving them an opportunity to actively participate in the EU policymaking process. So it's all about bringing citizens closer to Europe. So each of the project applications under this call, they have to address one of the following three priorities. So the first priority is promoting exchanges on future union policy priorities and challenges. The second is countering disinformation, information manipulation, and interference in the democratic debate. And the third priority is promoting citizens' active engagement and democratic participation. So the kinds of activities that you could deliver with funding through this call would be things like organizing public debates, workshops, or conferences on specific EU policy areas. You could also develop educational materials, resources, toolkits to engage and help citizens understand EU policies and their impact on daily life. And then also organizing media literacy training programs or implementing toolkits for citizens, particularly for young people, helping them critically evaluate online information. So you can see that countering disinformation and misinformation is a big theme here. In terms of the partners required, the application must involve at least 2 applicants from 2 different eligible countries. So this has to be a transnational project. And the budget is, the grant can apply for cannot be lower than 75 grand. And again, the deadline for this is the 29th of April. Okay, so then we have the networks of towns. So this call promotes exchanges between citizens of different countries to give them practical experience of the wealth and diversity of the common heritage of the Union. So the kinds of activities that the networks of town call support are basically bringing citizens together to discuss and share best practices and helping to increase citizens' active involvement in the democratic life of the Union. You can also do things like promoting awareness and building knowledge of EU citizenship rights, free movement of people, and associated European common values and common democratic standards. There are a bunch of other priorities that that the networks of towns supports as well. So a lot of it's about promoting awareness and sharing best practice on the benefits of diversity, and tackling racism and implementing effective anti-racism measures at local and national level. So that's something to be aware of as well. And again, all of those priorities in more detail are available if you click on the hyperlink in the slide. So obviously for this call, it would be a transnational project. So it needs to have at least 4 applicants from 4 different eligible countries. And at least 2 of those countries have to be EU member states, and the other 2 would obviously have to be countries that are associated to the CERV program, which Christina outlined earlier. And then the budget for this call is that the grant cannot be lower than 100,000 euro. And the deadline for this is the 27th of March. So those 3 calls that I just went through are the ones that are open and accepting applications now. And if you are interested in them, I really recommend going to one of those webinars in February that Christina outlined earlier. Okay, so now we're going to look at 3 calls that are due to be launched soon. So since we don't have call documents yet for these calls, since they're not published, the hyperlink in the name there, that leads to the 2025 CERV work program. So these calls aren't yet on our website because they're not on the Commission's website, and we don't have a dedicated page for them with the application link. So the information that I'm presenting here is what's available to the general public through that work program document. So you can click on that link to go to the work program document yourself if you'd like to have a look at that. So we don't have as much information on these yet in terms of the activities supported and the budget. So this is just to kind of give you a general sense of what's coming down the line in terms of the general themes of the upcoming calls. So we have the prevent and combat gender-based violence and violence against children. So that is obviously what it sounds like, preventing and combating gender-based violence and violence against children, and also supporting and protecting all direct and indirect victims of these forms of violence. So the kinds of priorities that it's going to support are large-scale and long-term transnational actions on tackling gender-based violence. It'll also support targeted actions for the protection of and support for victims and survivors of gender-based violence and domestic violence, and also targeted actions for the prevention of gender-based violence, including cyber violence. So those are the general priorities it will support. I would imagine that the activities that it will fund would be quite similar to the activities that will be funded under the other calls. So raising awareness, informational campaigns, social media campaigns, creating resources, toolkits, trainings, that kind of thing. So the partners that are required, so projects, again, they can be transnational or national, but this is a note in the work program that transnational projects are particularly encouraged. So that's something to keep in mind if you would like to go for this call, is that your application will probably score better if you include transnational partners. The budget is yet to be determined. The deadline for the call is supposed to be the 24th of April, but we also don't yet know when it's going to be open. So watch this space, I suppose. So then next up, and ones to be looking out for, we have promote equality and to fight against racism, xenophobia, and all other forms of discrimination. So this is a very long objective. Supporting, advancing, and implementing comprehensive policies and an intersectional approach to combat racism, xenophobia, anti-Gypsyism, LGBTIQ phobia, anti-Semitism, anti-Muslim racism, and all forms of discrimination and intolerance. So quite inclusive with what kind of things you can tackle there. So again, the priorities supported are obviously fighting against discrimination and racism and all forms of intolerance, promoting, and then in particular, promoting diversity management and inclusion at the workplace, both in the public and private sector. Fighting discrimination against LGBTIQ people and promoting LGBTIQ equality. And a particular priority is support to public authorities to combat racism, intolerance, and intersectional discrimination. So I would imagine if you go for that fourth priority, you probably need a public authority as a partner. So something to be aware of. And then again, projects can be transnational or national, but transnational projects are particularly encouraged. Budget yet to be determined. The deadline is supposed to be the 18th of June. And then again, the opening date is yet to be determined. So we'll be keeping an eye on that ourselves. And then finally, European Remembrance. So this call is about supporting projects that are aimed at commemorating defining events in modern European history and at raising awareness among European citizens of their common history. So priority supported, so raising awareness of democratic transition, rebuilding and strengthening society based on the rule of law, democracy, and fundamental rights, strengthening the remembrance of the Holocaust, genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity to reinforce democracy in the EU, and migration, decolonization, slavery, and multicultural European societies. And same thing with the projects, it can be national or transnational, but again, encourage you to go for the transnational approach. And then the deadline is due to be the 17th of June, and this one's actually due to open on the 6th of February. So once that is open, we will have that up on the Access Europe website if you want to keep an eye out for that. So that is it from me. And now I'm going to hand over to Philip, who is the national contact point for CERV in Luxembourg.
Thank you so much, Emily.
Yes. Thank you, Emily. I will share your slides, yeah?
Thank you, Christina.
Yes.
Yeah, many thanks to both of you for the very kind invitation. I'm very impressed, I have to say, you're so ambitious. I'm learning a lot today. So we haven't presented that many calls in one single event. So really,
I hope we
hats off.
didn't just say complete like
Oh
please
no, you
correct
really
us. Please
boiled it
correct
down
us.
to,
Okay. Okay.
to the essential information. So very happy to be with all of you. Sorry for the sound of my voice. I've been unwell with the flu this past week. It's only today that I feel better. So I hope I will make it to the end of my presentation. Otherwise, I'm sure Christina or Emily will be able to step in. You've asked me to present some of our tools that we offer as the, maybe we could say the UK We Serve community. And the first of those are our citizens fora. So the first one is the regular citizens forum, which you can see here on the slide, what it aims to achieve. So basically, we start off this forum with a short presentation of one particular funding call. And then we usually have 2 presentations by successful projects under a previous deadline of this same call. And then in the registration form, participants can actually indicate whether they wish to participate as a leader. And if they are leaders, then it means that they have a project idea and they are willing to facilitate a breakout session during the event, with the aim also to potentially find new partners. Or alternatively, people can simply participate as partner, in which case they can choose to participate in one or even several breakout sessions that are then moderated by the leaders. So each breakout room is also always supported by at least one contact point available to address any questions, such as those related to the specific call. And every leader gets about a minute to pitch their idea in the plenary before we then break out into the rooms so that people know which rooms they would like to attend. And in the very end, we usually round it up by giving the leaders the chance to summarize again what happened in the rooms, while allowing everybody else, of course, as well to ask any remaining questions. I'm going to put a registration link here in the chat. Here we go, just in case you would like to, for example, register for the upcoming ones. Christina, if we can go to the next slide, I think we can see the invitation to the next upcoming forum, which will take place on the Wednesday, 29th of January. So you are most welcome to join, and that one will focus on the citizens' engagement and participation call. Then we have another type of forum, which we call the CERV Innovation Forum. Let's go to the next slide again. And here the focus is not so much one specific call, but rather one topic or priority, with the goal of sharing best practices and ideally fostering innovation in that area. So the next one coming up here will be on countering disinformation, information manipulation, and interference in the democratic debate. You might have recognized it. So it's the second priority under the current CIV call, so the Citizens Engagement and Participation call, second priority. We will start with a panel discussion. Typically, it features 3 invitees. So some of them might be leading already CERV projects on this related topic, or others might be experts but not yet involved in CERV. We don't have the ones for the upcoming one that will probably take place on the 10th of February, but to be confirmed. The speakers for that event still also need to be confirmed. Last year, just to give you an example, we organized an innovation forum on whistleblowers protection. And after this initial panel discussion, the next step, it can vary. So if participants really have a lot of questions, we might simply remain in the plenary and have a discussion all together. Or alternatively, we might also break up into 2 breakout rooms. So it depends on the preferences of participants. And sometimes we have a vote, for example, to find out what most people would prefer. So this is really, it's a space where stakeholders can discuss the latest challenges and opportunities aligned with specific CERV priorities. Then let's go to the next instrument that we offer, the next tool rather, which is our CERV Project Partner Search. You also, of course, have the partner search on the official Funding and Tenders portal. We find that one a little bit hard to navigate, which is why we've come up with this one by the contact points. You can see the link here on the slide, of course, but I'm going to put it as well in the chat. On this platform, on our platform, you can really search by a lot of different details. Thank you, Christina. So as you can see here on the slide, you can see some of the entries, and these are publicly visible actually. So anybody putting up their details, adding their details to the platform also agrees to them being publicly available here. And you can search by call, by role, by name, by country, by city, project description, by expected partner profile, and also by envisaged deadline. And of course, you can combine all of these different filters, as you can see here on the upper left corner. So for example, search for all the leaders on a specific call, or all the leaders from a specific country or city. I think currently we have around 7 entries from Ireland, so we can still step it up a little bit, but the same is true, I think, for all countries. So feel free to use this tool, and if you have any questions, yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. Then I also would like to mention, of course, the family of the contact points. You can see a little white star everywhere where you can find a contact point at the moment. I'm going to put you the link to the contact points to all our contact details here in the chat as well. You can basically reach out to any of us because we are really in touch on a daily basis. And so really, if you can't reach one of us, the other one will have the answer as well. So yeah, you can just see us as one big family, I would say. And finally, I'd also like to mention our UK We Serve community on Basecamp. You can sign up for it here via this link that I'm putting in the chat as well. And here you can make announcements, you can share invites, you can ask your questions. You have access to documents that we also produce as contact points. You receive your own invitations to different events related to CERV and much more. So it's a platform that we can freely use as a community. I guess most of you are already familiar with Basecamp. It should be pretty easy, pretty straightforward to use. So this is another tool that we like to offer you. Maybe I can round off my presentation just by giving you a couple of maybe general tips when it comes to the application. Yeah, we can just, yeah, you can leave the last slide, or yeah, it doesn't matter. Or
I'm
we don't need
sorry,
the
this
slides
one.
anymore.
I share your contact details once more. I clicked
Okay.
one time too often.
No worries. You did a great job.
Okay, let's go to your
So
contact.
some general tips would be to, of course, stick closely to the call document when you are preparing your application, as close as possible. To also attend, I think, Christina, you were showing some of the official events by the Commission earlier. To attend these presentations of the call, usually they are also recorded, so you can also watch the video recording. And in particular, you will need to refer to all the relevant EU documents and policies that they are presenting during these calls. So I think it's very important in your applications to refer to each of them in great detail, in particular those highlighted during the presentations. Of course, you should also incorporate gender mainstreaming aspects in your application, both when you are preparing your project. This needs to be a criterion, but also in the evaluation process, so throughout the whole project duration. And finally, something we can really see now looking at the results of the first 3 or 4 years of the CERV program is that you stand a much higher chance of being selected if you are a well-established organization, or if you're not a very well-established organization and quite a big organization as well, I would say, then I think you are well advised to actually team up with one. If we really look at all the selected projects, the very big majority of them are actually very well established, which can be a challenge sometimes for us. For example, also in our citizens fora, because we like to support the smaller organizations, and we have been very hopeful these years, but looking at the results, we need to become more realistic, I would say. So that's it from my side so far. And of course, I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are. And
Thank
many
you
thanks
so
again
much.
for the invitation.
Thank you, Philip. We are super happy to have you on board. And also when I'm like seeing what you're actually offering there for support structures for this program, I really want it for every EU funding program in exactly this way. So that would help so much, you know, like it is there for some, it is really there for some. So we have also National Contact Point for Erasmus Plus here in Ireland. They're doing a great job in running events and all of that. But like to provide this information and to give people the opportunity to join exactly those sessions and to have like a possibility to have like a chat where you can just ask a question about this. This is excellent. So I would love to have it also for other EU funding programs. Great to have you on board. So this now brings us to two people who actually did it. So they applied and delivered a CERV project. And I would like to welcome Sinead Roach from Oxfam Island to share her experiences with a CERV project. Also just mentioning that we actually handed out an award last year to Oxfam Island because they won and our EU Story Award, where we actually highlight projects or give awards to projects that do a really good job delivering successful EU funded projects. So congratulations again to that, Sinead, and we're happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen now, and hopefully everybody will be able to see it in a second. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yes,
well, thank you so
perfect.
much. So yeah, my name is Sinead Roach, and I am the campaigns coordinator here in Oxfam Island. And thank you so much to the Wheel for having us here today to just explain to you all how we successfully completed our CERV project last year, but also how we're currently in our next CERV project. So here in Oxfam Island, we have taken part as a co-applicant in two CERV funded projects. So the first one was the ACT-ZEN, which was the Active Citizens for People and Planet. So you can see some pictures here on the left, which was just sometimes we got involved with our CERV project and the people we connected with. So this finished in 2024, in June 2024, and we're currently in our second CERV project, which is Imagining Just Climate Futures, which will take place until 2026. So a question we get a lot is, why did we apply, or what was the inspiration? And we applied because the CERV call that we applied for, so for example, the Active Citizens for People and Planet, aligned perfectly with Oxfam's values and the kind of work we wanted to do in climate justice, especially within campaigns with youth in Ireland and across Europe as well. So I just wanted to start with what the project was actually about. So I'm going to focus on the ACT-ZEN project from last year. So here at the bottom is some text about the actual proposal, the actual project summary. So the Active Citizens for People and Planet Consortium focused on engaging citizens in discussions and action related to our climate and environment, proposing solutions to decision makers. So the consortium built upon awareness and civic debate, and this was really important coming up to the 2024 parliamentary elections. So in Ireland, that included our local elections, but also in Europe, the European elections. And this contributed to the countering of disinformation and other interference in democratic debate, empowering citizens and informed decisions. So within the ACT-ZEN consortium that finished in June 2024, there were 7 organisations. So Oxfam Island was one, and we had 3 other Oxfam affiliates, but we also had other organisations as well in Europe. So this project had a focus on young people with a special emphasis to climate and feminist activities, but it wasn't just young people we were focusing on. And I'll describe a little bit about the actual work we did. And it wasn't just catered to a certain age cohort. So it aimed to generate active participation of more than 2,000 citizens across at least 7 countries in Europe, generating intersectoral, intergenerational debates and activities in more than 15 events across Europe. So that was the actual project summary. I'm going to go a little bit into the objectives, and then I'm going to describe what we actually did and how we kind of brought this to life. So the climate crisis brings with it challenges of taking urgent measures to mitigate climate change by reducing greenhouse gases through decarbonisation of economy, while also protecting and restoring biodiversity. Something I've really found in my role is that here in Oxfam Island, we have the policy, we do the research, you know, we have members of our staff who are like connecting with policymakers. But I think a big key of our work is ensuring that our policy is informed by those grassroots movements, by actual people on the ground, so we're not segmented. And I think this project and the objectives of it really allowed us to take that next step with what we want to do with climate justice. So linking in with that with the objectives, it poses a double challenge. So how we adapting society and ecosystems to the effects of climate change and transitioning to this new decarbonised economy. And I think that's really crucial with climate change, where it's like we can't do it segmented, we have to be working together, and this funding was a step where we could do our work on that. So citizens needed to come along, push for change and change themselves. To achieve this, based on the needs analysis, we identified 3 main areas of action: culture, activism and cities and local level. So we consider crucial levers for change. So that was the objectives and the summary and all the text that happened before the actual implementation. So just to flag a little bit about my kind of role in this, and I want to give a massive shout out to our programs department in Oxfam Island, who really helped me bring this presentation together, but also helped me when I actually started at Oxfam. So I started in November 2023. So when I started, the proposal was already in, we had, you know, the funding there, and it was actually about the implementation. So what we did and what our main work package was within CERV. So just a little bit of context, because I even found it a little bit confusing when I started, but we have this consortium of 7 members, and each of those 7 members lead on their own work package. So ours was the 7% campaign workshops. And within that work package, you get a certain budget and certain deliverables you have to achieve. And that's kind of led by you. But in addition to your own work package, you're kind of working with all the other consortium members and their work packages and what they're trying to achieve. And that's where I think we were able to link in with so many different activists and people in Europe. But I'm just going to focus first on the workshops that we did. So from December 2023 to June 2024, Oxfam Island held climate workshops all over Ireland for our 7% campaign. So you can see here in the right, there's this was our manifesto for change. And what we got was each workshop we did, we got people to write down on this massive sheet of paper, which we brought around with us, going from train to train around Ireland for these workshops. And it was a really good first step to have our 3 main objectives, which was identified in that needs analysis, putting pressure on the government, sticking together, and having that greater knowledge and greater solidarity. So this was one of our main points of the CERV project and the deliverables, and that focused and linked in with the local and European elections. And we were able to connect with so many different groups and people across Ireland as well. So just talk a little bit about Activism on Track. So this was a project that was within CERV and within the ACSEM project, but was being led by other consortium members, but we were involved. So we were able to bring 7 young people to Hamburg and Copenhagen to take part in Activism on Track, which created a journey where young climate and right activists could learn from each other. So the journey consisted of a train wine workshop from Hamburg to Copenhagen, and then we had other workshops, and then we had a wellbeing economy conference in Copenhagen. So the aim of the trip was to increase the influence of young voices within the climate agenda and to strengthen our collective work. So in Oxfam Island, we actually have a lot of content from this trip, and we don't have time to go through it all now. But if you are interested to learn a little bit about, okay, but what was the actual impact, or like how did they actually find it? We have a lot of their resources. So I have my email at the end, so you can email me and I'm happy to send that on as well. But here are just some pictures from the trip and a lot of the youth we got to connect with as well. So I think that leads me onto a nice bit, which is about the impact. So what did we actually achieve from CERV? So we now have 3 Oxfam Island youth ambassadors from that trip. So the young people that went on the trip, we didn't know there was an application process, and we really wanted to try and hit young people who weren't always involved in those spaces. We had a lot of people from rural areas as well, which was great for them to really open their eyes to, you know, what's possible and what they can get involved in. So we have 3 youth ambassadors now. We connected with so many different organizations and grassroots movements. And we're currently working on our second set of funding, which is the Imagining Climate Just Futures. So this new project aims to encourage citizens to imagine their climate just future and the action they want to achieve it. So this is a nice segue into like what the next step is for us and how we're actually continually engaging. And this consortium has 15 organizations. So again, a huge jump from our last project, which finished in June. This was just some of the impact from the project. So just a few challenges that I'm going to talk about implementation, because again, I wasn't actually present for the actual application process, and I have some points next with some tips, and our programs department in Oxfam Island gave me some give all their wisdom on that, so hopefully that'll be helpful. But just to raise some challenges and to keep in mind when we're actually implementing, I think a big thing is allowing people in your organization to actually understand what CERV is and the importance of it and what it can actually achieve. Because I think with this type of grant, it isn't just the paperwork, it isn't just the tick box. You're actually engaging with people, and you're kind of trying something different and something new, and you're given the space to do that. So that was one thing I think is just like making sure you're bringing the organization on board as well. And also probably organizations experience this in all their other grants, but definitely staff changes and just ensuring that like you have a bit of understanding of what you actually want to achieve. So like at the beginning, talking about that project summary, really not forgetting that, forgetting those key points and what you're actually trying to deliver at the end of this project. So they were just a few challenges I thought would be good to raise. And lastly, just some tips on applying. So I know some of these were already mentioned, but these are from our own department when they were applying the last 2 times. So study in advance the annual work programs to be ready for when the call is launched. Most information is available there, and calls under each stream can be predicted, so you can anticipate, engage with potential partners and be ahead of the curve instead of just being reactive to the call for proposals. So I actually saw the next point mentioned in the chat, but yeah, the CERV program is really competitive and the success rate is generally quite low. So you really need to put together a high quality proposal. So taking as example the results in 2023 of the call that is now open, Citizens, a total of 450 proposals were submitted and only 88 were awarded. But out of the 362 that were rejected, 155 were due to insignificant relevance or low quality. So just really understanding, you know, what your actual proposal is, the summary, the reasons why. And I think for Oxfam Island, the last 2 we've gotten, you know, that work on climate justice and actually that next step in what we want to achieve. And it's not just Oxfam in this consortium, there's other organizations in Europe as well. So analyze the results of previous similar calls. Also, this slides will be shared so you guys can read through it in more detail, but you'll notice there's a tendency to approve multi-country proposals involving a diversity of countries and actors rather than one country proposals. So again, I think this was mentioned as well, where it's like encouraging people to not just have the one country and trying to link with others. So Eastern European countries seem to be more successful in securing a one country proposal rather than others. And Ireland is in general underrepresented when it comes to CERV funding. So just lastly, if you're a newcomer to CERV and or EU funding in general, we would advise take a smaller role in your first application. So joining as a co-applicant instead of leading. So this might involve actually looking at other organizations in Europe who are pulling together a proposal and see, can you be a co-applicant with that as well? This allows you to get track record and experience and prepare to lead in the future. Attend the info sessions, which we're all doing now. Innovation is key, and be realistic when setting your target. So I'm just going to finish up and my email's there. And also I just wanted to mention we are currently in our CERV too, and we are currently doing it and getting events ready, and we are going to be having a people climate meeting in University College Cork in April. So just keep an eye out for details. And if you want to learn more or want to learn more about what we're doing, please shoot me an email. And yeah, I'm assuming any questions will be filtered through the chat as well. So yeah, that's
excellent. Sinead, thank you so much for sharing this. Very interesting, and also that you covered all those topics that we actually were talking about or came up in the chat. So with the tips and the tricks and what to watch out for, and read your documents, read the work program. and join exactly those info sessions. I think this is so valuable. And thank you also for sharing those numbers. So it's really good to get an insight into what is actually the success rate and what kind of quality those proposals apparently need to have. I just wanted to ask you, you said that you now went for CERV 2. So you say you had like a good experience with this round. So that's why you said, okay, let's go for a second one. And also probably you were established, so they knew you. So it was easier now to get the second round of funding, or?
So from my personal experience, because I was so new when I think they started applying for the second one, I think my colleagues would have a lot more information on that, so I can get that details. But from my perspective, yes, I would say so. And I think as well, it's like I kind of said through the tips, it's having that firm understanding of like, okay, what is the proposal? What are we actually trying to achieve? And how does that link in? So like, for example, in the first CERV, having that needs analysis and understanding where it's like, this is what we're actually trying to achieve. And also, I think when they went the second time, it was a bigger amount of funding because there was more organizations involved. Like this time we had 15, like the current one we're in is 15 organizations. Wow. And the last one only had 7 as well. Now, just say as well that Oxfam's even working with Oxfam Spain, Oxfam Netherlands, Belgium, and the person who is the like project manager for CERV is in Oxfam Spain. So again, like as it was mentioned that like Eastern European countries are more likely to get the one country, but like also having a look at like where they are looking for co-applicants, and having the benefit of Ireland as well. Like we're having activists coming over from Europe to Ireland in April. Like the benefits of CERV is that like you're connecting like different activists in Europe as well, which I think is really important when looking, or just from a climate justice perspective, like looking at policy going forward and how we interlink with that as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. It's great insights to have. Thanks so much for joining us today, Sinead. And good luck for the second round. We're looking forward to that. And then now I need to ask if Martin actually from Twilight Community Group is with us, because I received a message from him and he said that something came up, so he doesn't know if he actually made it for our second case study. I just would like you to give the opportunity now to speak up, Martin, if you were able to join us. I tried to find you in the participants list, but you're not there. So I assume that Martin will not be with us today. I would move on now and start the Q&A session. In case Martin shows up, then we would just give him another 10 minutes to talk about his project, also his CERV project that they are implementing and implemented in the past. They are super experienced actually with CERV as well. But for now, I think we can move on and just tackle some of the questions that were in the chat. And also, if you would have now questions, put them in the chat so that we're able to go back to those. I think some were already answered. I were looking through the chat while Sinead was talking, and I saw, Philip, you were like a little bit more details providing there on what actually a bigger organization or well-established mean. So you said, you would say it means having 10 or more employees, well-established primarily as an organization, right? So it's not so much about EU funding, I understand. It means how like well-experienced you are or how big you are in terms of staff members. Is that right? It's not the EU funding experience.
I would say so, yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Of course, I think it's an advantage if you did like EU funded projects before. But it's also good to know what kind of are the realistic measures here. And of course, also a little bit sad to see that. Then I just went through the chat and wrote down some of the questions that we can tackle here together. So can we apply for 2 streams simultaneously? So for one that is already open and then one yet to open. And I would just say yes. But Philip, if you have there any other information on that, is it possible to apply for 2 or 3 calls at the same time? I would say yes, because it's also possible for other EU funding programs.
Yes, it's possible.
Yeah, I think it needs to be a different project proposal. It needs to be probably a different consortium. You can't apply with the same idea for 2 calls, I would assume.
Exactly. So it doesn't necessarily make the process easier, because you will also then have the task to really clearly explain how each of the projects is completely different and will be handled also ideally by different people within the organization.
Okay, so you wouldn't recommend to go for 2 calls at the same time?
I think you need to be an even better established or So an
I get it.
even, yeah, maybe larger organization to be able to manage that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That was also what I was thinking, and makes totally sense. Then, okay, we tackled the one with the success rate. There was a question, I think, that you need a credit card to validate the CERV project partner search account. I don't think it happens. I actually am signed up for that one, and I never had to put my credit card details. So I would say no, but like whoever posted that, I can't find it now in the chat again. You can also write us an email, europe@wheel.ie, so we can figure this out, but I don't think that you have to do it. It depends which one you were trying to do now. Did you try to do it with the Citizens Forum? It shouldn't ask for any credit card details. No one is interested in
No,
that
definitely
until you no, no, and never put it anyways. So, but not even the commission is interested in that. Okay, so then I'm just reading out a question. I'm interested in citizens' engagement and participation. How do you link in with other countries, partners? We have some links through Erasmus Plus already established, which is great, but it would be good to link in with another education community group who are doing similar work. Also, would conferences be happening simultaneously in separate countries, or a joint project, joint visits? So I think we tackled the partner search in, like we gave you some ideas here. We shared the partner search forum of the Citizens Forum, which has a dedicated partner search section. Then the funding and tenders portal was also mentioned by Philippe. You can also have a look there. There you also have a partner search possibility. And then what I mentioned is look up those success stories, look through those projects that were funded, and maybe you will find there some organizations who work with the same topic or that you would need in your consortium. So I would definitely recommend to check out these. And also what is probably a good place to go to are those info sessions that we shared by the Commission. So you also will see, they usually, I think, also share registration lists. Not sure about that, but you can see in the event itself, and you will be having a chat. So you can post and just say, look, I'm looking for this and that organization. So make use of every possibility that you have to join events like this, and just to post that you are actually interested to join a consortium. So I would recommend, this would be like my first tips around this whole topic. We have actually also a dedicated partner brokerage webinar on our YouTube channel from Access Europe. I can share that link in the follow-up email. So where we like actually talk just for 1.5 hours about how to find partners for your EU funded project or EU project. So just maybe to give you information on that. And then there was a question, are there any funding streams open to under 18th? So I think it's the age, but if it's a target group, yes. If it's an applicant, no. But like target group, definitely yes. I hope that answers your question.
And on the CERV, then maybe Christina, we can mention that any organization involving underage people needs to have a child protection policy published on their website.
Oh, okay.
At
What
the
does that
moment
mean?
of applying, actually.
Yeah, what does that mean? Is that like a document that you create, like an official document?
Exactly, explaining how you are protecting children when you are involving them in your activities.
Okay,
There is
great.
one organization called Eurochild.
Yeah.
I think they have a pretty nice template. It's much too detailed, but you can use it to actually then come up with your own.
Okay, great. That's really good to know. Very important to have that then already in place before you apply. I have here a question from Paul from Ms. Bond. If you're registered in managing an Erasmus project, do you have to go through a new register process for CERV? Or as we are already registered for EU funding through Erasmus and using ePally, will this suffice? I would say there's a new register process. I looked that up and there's a completely different one. This has nothing to do with Erasmus Plus.
Yes, because in Erasmus, so Erasmus is essentially a decentralized program, as a decision is usually taken on the national level by the Erasmus agency. The CERV is a centralized program. So CERV is working essentially with the funding and tenders portal, and you need a PIC. And in Erasmus, sometimes you can only have an OID number. And these are two different codes.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I think you need to, well, definitely you have to register on both platforms
I would say, yes, this is also how I
to
understood it.
participate in both programs.
Yeah, when I looked it up, it's usually the case for EU funding programs also that they have different registration processes, which is really not great because it's not streamlined and it's different, but and you will need to remember so many passwords and logins, but still, yeah, totally. This is something that you will have to go through. Then from Catherine, how can we find out when the call on preventing and combating gender-based violence is open? And I'm checking right now the indicative call table. I think it's the Daphne call, and it should open in January 2025. Do we have any other information on that, Philip?
No, that's as well my latest information I received, yes.
Yes, exactly. So and it's supposed to have a deadline in April 2025. So it should open soon, I would say. It's a Daphne call, just to look out for that. Okay, and then would you expect the deadline to be extended for Daphne given they haven't made information available yet? Could happen, could not happen. So there is already like some information in the work program. Of course, this is not detailed and not all the details. I don't know if that happened before. Maybe, nah, I would just say no. I think they will stick to the deadline. Maybe they will give you 1 or 2 weeks more, but I can't imagine because this is like usually like structured, you know, you need them to think that everything will like move further down. So I can't imagine that they would do that. Yeah, you will need to calculate with April. But it should open in the next week if it's January. Okay, I think we covered most of the questions. Did I miss anyone? Anyone's question here?
I think I saw one, something about applying. Yeah, can one organization apply for 2 different projects under the same call?
2 different projects under the same call? I don't know about this. I wouldn't recommend, but again, what Philip said, that you also need to show that you would have the resources. But Philip, what would you recommend on that?
No, same. I also wouldn't recommend it. As the same organization, you mean also as leader on both projects under the same call?
Maybe
Would that be the question?
Who posted that question? You're very welcome to unmute yourself.
Because if you're leader in one project and you are just a partner on another project, this we have seen. So for example, looking at citizens engagement, the previous calls. So of the 152 leaders that have been chosen, 39 of them actually also partner in another CIF project. So on the same call.
Okay. That makes sense.
Which
Yeah,
said likely as a co-applicant.
Yeah, likely as a co-applicant. Okay, that's definitely different kind of responsibility than there. Okay, so did we cover all the questions in the chat? I think so. Is it? Yeah, so we have 5 minutes more for question. If anyone would like to unmute and just raise your virtual hand and ask your question to us. Otherwise, of course, we are also here all the time, so you can send us an email to europe@wheel.ie. And you also have now the contact details from Philip, so just to know. And also you have now the great portal of the CERV Citizens Forum, where you can ask those questions and get them answered. Sorry, I missed this. We'll be planning on running another partner match session. Yes, from Victoria. Hi, Victoria. So yeah, we will have one on the 5th of February. As I said, it's already booked, like it's nearly fully booked, and especially for Irish participants. We will see if this is successful. We have done this format, and if we see that there's a need, and actually I see that now because we still like getting like I receive like emails of people being interested being included in this session. So if we see that there's a need, then we would consider running one more of those partner matchmaking sessions. Yes, and we would let you know. So if you signed up to our newsletter, you should receive this information. You can also check on our website and also via the Wheel website. It's usually also on the Wheel website. But yes, so what we would do is then probably we would what we do now in this partner matchmaking session is that we will have breakout rooms on different calls, and maybe we'll just do like different calls then, like different assortment of calls. But yes, it's an idea that we have just because we see that the interest is so high. Okay, great. I don't see any other questions. Anyone who would like to ask a question directly?
Can I just check, when do you think will we get the follow-up email with all the information?
Yeah, so I have actually nearly all slides, and we have the recording. When we have uploaded it to YouTube, I would be able to send it tomorrow morning, the latest. So no worries about that. We're pretty quick in that because
Great,
we
thank you.
have collected everything. Yeah, no worries. We can share that. Great. So if no one else has a question, I would just share very quickly what we are able to support you with here at Access Europe, which is one slide only. And then I would also close this up maybe a little bit earlier. Just showing you what kind of supports are in place. Access Europe is a support service for our civil societies, and we inform you about updates on new funding programs, not only CERV, but also all the others, from Erasmus Plus to Life to Horizon Europe. So this is all to be found on our website, accesseurope.ie. We have free trainings like this. We record those. We have a YouTube channel where you find all of our trainings. We have also partner matchmaking sessions, as I said, and other stuff. So we have those training and events. It's all for free. You don't need to be a member also of the Wheel or anything. You don't have to pay. We provide one-on-one to advice. We provide also application support and signposting. Again, not only for CERV. So if you're interested in that, and if you're really like considering applying for the CERV program, let us know. Contact us via Europe at wheel.ie, and then we are happy to support you in this endeavor. Also, of course, we are trying to host networking opportunities locally and at EU level. So for example, in the whole engaged research space, we're also very active at the moment, trying to link you in with academic institutions, with researchers and so forth, all around the Horizon Europe program. Just letting you know that this is also something that we're able to support you with. You see here our platforms. We have a newsletter, which is a monthly newsletter. We have an X page and also a LinkedIn page. So please follow us and get in contact with us. This is just to finish this up. What else would be out there for you? So, and then if this is everything, I would like to finish this up. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks to our beautiful speakers. Thanks for sharing all of your knowledge with us and your wisdom and your experiences. I hope this was valuable for you, this session. I mentioned it before. I will collect now all the slides. We will upload the recording, and then we will share the follow-up email tomorrow morning, the latest. And yeah, thanks again for joining us. I hope this was valuable for you and for your time on this happy Tuesday morning. Great.